Alex, do you want to start? Good morning. I'll invite you all to take your seats. We have an incredible selection of folks to come and help us reconnect with our paddling selves. My name's Erika Bailey, and I have the great fortune of being able to MC the day today with you. Who was here last night? Yes. And how was it? Oh, phenomenal. Honestly, I still have goosebumps, and it's not because it's February in Canada. Well, sort of a little bit. So for today, I have a little bit of housekeeping, but I do want to start off with a land acknowledgement. Last night I presented a basic one that comes from York University, but I do want to couch that a little bit in how we connect with the land and the waters and the skies and with each other. So I'm a firstborn Canadian in my family. My parents both immigrated in the same year, but they didn't know each other. They came over here and they fell in love. And so mom's from Scotland, Dumfries, and my dad, he's from Birmingham. And so I grew up in a place called Grimsby, Ontario. But I have to be honest, my favorite places in the world were in a canoe. Like, I feel like that's its own little territory. It needs its own, like, area code, you know? Like, right? Like, being in a canoe is a very special place for me. I remember just those moments of being with my family. You know how the hot rock is on your feet when you're, like, drying out your socks, right? Or like the wind and how it feels when it's behind your back and when it's in your face. I also really appreciate, like, just sitting and watching the water, how the colors shape and shift in the waves, and I really feel connected to that. And I remember traveling north. Northern Ontario was the vast majority of the places I was able to travel as a kid. And we would pass reserves. We'd pass these places with names like Chippewa and Mohawk and Huron and Algonquin and Mississauga, Docus. But I didn't know who these people were. And growing up in Grimsby, Ontario, we were told that the neutral Indians, which was the term that they used when I was in school in the 70s, were the people there, and they were killed off. And so there was no real history that we could learn about these people. That's not true. What I learned in school was not true. And I was really growing recently very aware of the fact that there's a gap in my knowing as a settler here in Canada. And so I'm coming to realize that a lot of these narratives, these stories are being silenced, and that the joy and the beauty and the nourishment I got from the land in Grimsby, Ontario, which took me 6 months to find the name. The Attawandaran are the people who lived in Grimsby, Ontario, and they were taken in by the Huron after a huge war. I didn't know that, and it took me a lot of conversations to figure that out. But I realized that the privilege I enjoy still today as a white settler, it comes from unceded lands, from displaced Indigenous peoples, many Indigenous peoples from around the country. And like the first time I get in a canoe after a winter, whoa, it's a bit wobbly, it feels like that. It feels like I actually need to continue to resettle my understanding of my place with this Indigenous technology. One of my colleagues, his name is Michael White, he's an Indigenous person from the Anishinaabe people, and he said that it's called a chimon. If anyone's been on the Chichimon, going up to Manitoulin Island, chimon is what he said is a craft to transfer people. So as I share with you this land acknowledgement, I want to acknowledge a few people who helped me understand it. So York University has a great Indigenous center, and they have a great land acknowledgement. And for people like myself, it was amazing to actually listen to the videos, Indigenous peoples from this place, to help me understand, like, what does it mean to reconcile? What does it mean to acknowledge? And so as I share this, I would ask you to think about the hot rock under your feet, and to think about the calluses in your palms when you paddle, and to think about the laughter around a campfire, and think about how are we all connected through these stories, and how does this connect with this land? The Wilderness and Canoe Symposium is being held at York University, and this is an institution that is situated on the traditional territories of many Indigenous nations. This area is known as Takaronto, and Takaronto, I understand, means where the trees stand in the water. And this area has been taken care of by the Anishinaabe Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Huron-Wendat, and the Métis. It has been, and it still is, home to thousands of Indigenous people. I also would like to acknowledge the current treaty holders, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. This area is subject to the dish with one spoon wampum belt covenant, and it is an agreement to peaceably share and care for the Great Lakes region. As a settler to this land and as a treaty person myself, along with all Canadians, I am so grateful for this land and to the Indigenous people of the Turtle Island, which is the name for North America. They have been, and still are, the caretakers and protectors of this land since time immemorial. So this is a simple invitation for the rest of the day. If anyone who shares a similar identity to myself, I'll ask you to connect, because these stories that we're sharing about these wonderful, amazing places are places that have been populated by thousands of people across time immemorial. And we are connected. We are connected to this land and this beauty. And so I hope that we can listen to those stories that we carry as we connect with the ones that are coming up. So with that, we're going into housekeeping. So Aleks, thank you for finding this amazing new venue. We are all to wear our name tags. Now, if anyone remembers, I lost my name tag. Good news, you can stop looking. Found it. So we really invite you to wear your name tag. This name tag is an opportunity to identify when you're wandering around campus, to connect with one another and talk about your own canoe stories. Please wear it at all times. There's no lunch or dinner this year. There are food courts, but I understand there may not be access to the food as much. There's only a few open, so I think we're going to try and figure that out. The book tables are open, as you may have noticed. At lunchtime, they will be closed, so volunteers can also get some snacks. So there are three types. There's the Canoe Museum books, which are from the Lustig collection. There are new books from past and current presenters, and donated secondhand books, which are going to fund the transcription of many of our past archives in Symposium. Is that right? Okay. And so it's cash, check, or US cash, which we'll take at par. And thank you very much. Also, have you seen the washrooms? I'm sorry. You can swing a cat. Not that I do that. I don't do that. But you can swing a cat in the washrooms. There's so much space. So they're fantastic. They're wheelchair accessible. There's a gender-neutral washroom, which is single use. So it's just like a remarkable venue. I can't get over the washrooms, to be honest. And so, yeah. And there's the community board. So where you would post, find a paddler, meet a trip. It's all by the book tables. And with that, housekeeping, Aleks, may I invite you up?
Thank you, Erika. I'm encouraged to see that more people have found this place today. When I saw Terry Shaw, I thought, anybody can find it if Terry Shaw can find it. Right, Terry? I mean, it was a great evening last night, and many of you came and shared your impressions about what a great movie it was, Mike. It was awesome, and thank you so much for sharing. And of course, we got lots more coming today, so as they say, stay tuned. I want to do something that I've been thinking to do for many years, and just forgetting the excitement of the moment. Who is, let me say that back. May Frank DiZoglio stand up, please? Is there Frank DiZoglio here? Maybe he hasn't made it yet. So there's this person whom I think of maybe. Is he a real person? He is always the first to register. He's from the States. His check comes from Abbey Packaging Company in special envelope, and it kind of stands out. So I think he's standing there waiting from Labor Day for the moment when I send the announcement. How does he get his check here first before any of you register is beyond me. And he registers for 2 people. And I thought, if there is him, surely there is no Mrs. DiZoglio. I mean, would she really come and enjoy? So if you run into Frank DiZoglio and see him today, point, he does. But I just want to see him, touch him, see, is he for real or what? Or maybe lunchtime. So, I mean, there's so many special people in my life, and many of them are here. I just want to call out a couple. Like the first one is, if you don't mind just raising your hand, Bill King, from whom I learned so much over the years. And I'm so happy to see that Bill is here. Bill, of course, is involved with WCA and for many years. And when I first, remember that magazine that WCA publishes, what's it called? Nastawgan. The first copy of Nastawgan I saw was in Guelph, Ontario, of all places. when I took my first whitewater course, it was in someone's windshield, sort of standing there, and I picked it up and I read it cover to cover, and I saw Bill's name in the back, and I came to Bill, and anyway, he had a lot of extra copies. I don't think he has them anymore. I picked them all up, and amongst other things, we met as the WCA board in Bill and Jones, house many times, many years, and maybe still do. Yeah. Anyway, so Skip wasn't here last night, but I think many of you maybe remember Skip's presentation, Fred Pessel's from some years ago about the 55 Moffat trip. We don't see each other often, but when we do, it's always a special moment. And I mentioned last night, Skip, if you just want to raise your hand. Skip donated. He's much better now than he was last night. He's kind of over the worst of that, whatever Erika put in his plate when we had dinner a couple of nights ago. And he donated a number of books that are probably maybe gone already now, but if you picked it up, Skip is here and he can sign it for you. Behind or next to Skip is Bob Henderson, another dear friend who's so involved in many things we all love and do, and always have a great conversation. He's grown to love Serbian food, and hopefully we'll get to meet soon in one of those restaurants you like a lot. Yes. So speaking of Nastawgan, there's a number of people that are involved in that process, but one of them came my way somehow a couple of years ago, and he's the person who actually edits the text. And that's our friend Mike Fish, who is from US, yes. And we've developed a great relationship, and it's one of the joys to work together. So let's see. Marilyn is tucked away in the corner there, and David Friesen. There's been this long tradition that George and Linda have established where there would be a brunch after the symposium for the speakers, and that tradition continues. Now it's under the roof of Marilyn David's home, and thank you so much for your help and support over the years. Last but not least, where is Dick Irving? Okay, so here's one guy who we want on this stage next year. And I failed to find the right way to entice you, to cajole you, to threaten you. I said, I'll come to your home, I'll camp in your backyard, and we'll go through all of your movies, and we'll make something out of it. I know you digitized a lot of it, but we want you here. You have things to share, and you need to share them, and there's no two ways about it. You're up for next year. Forewarned is forearmed.